welcome to the podcast. It's Andrea, your host of the Mastering Social Media for Schools podcast. We've got an awesome episode for you. It's kind of a special episode. I recently had a free 5-day Fire Up Your Facebook Page challenge. And what this challenge was, it was 5 days with 5 little tasks for schools to do to engage and increase followers and get interaction and really increase their reach on Facebook and build some positive momentum kind of going into the end of the school year. And oh my, did we have results. I knew that it'd be good. I didn't know it'd be awesome. And I was hoping, but it really was awesome. And today you are going to meet Myra Barrera out of Beeville, Texas, and she is going to share her results that they had with their school district in the challenge. But just so you know, we had over 500 school communicators participate from across the globe. We had 8 different countries, you guys. This was amazing. And actually, out of our 50 states here, we had 43 out of the 50 states represented. I don't know where the other 7 were, but we'll pick them up next time because we will surely do this again. It was so successful. And Myra's going to talk through what the challenge was like and then what the results were with some specifics behind the posts. We talk about so many great tips and tricks and strategies. You are really going to want to take notes. Also, remember, our show notes have some of the direct links to some of the information you'll want to refer to. Now, I have to just give a shout out because, again, we had such amazing success through this challenge. A lot of people were excited, and I recently got this review over on my Social School for EDU Facebook page. Tamika said, Andrea and her team know their stuff. Her energy is electric, and she has been instrumental in feeding knowledge to our team regarding all things social media / school PR. If you haven't checked out Social School for EDU yet, don't walk. Run and subscribe, follow, like, comment, share, etc. It's a game changer and you won't be sorry. Well, of course, you know about me because you're listening to this podcast. But certainly if you're not following all the things that we share, I hope you do. And you better sign up for our newsletter because that's the best way to stay connected to all of our free content. You can sign up right on the show notes, or you can head over to socialschool4edu.com. That's socialschool, the number 4, edu.com. So let's get started with this week's interview. Today's K-12 PR tip is about reaching more people with your posts through one simple tip. And that simple tip is tagging organizations or companies or businesses or even people that have a large following on Facebook. You can also tag them on Twitter and on Instagram, right? Tagging other pages or organizations or people helps alert them that, hey, you mentioned them in your post, and they are likely to then share that on their page because you kind of tag them. Myra is going to specifically dive into tagging some organizations that your school may already be a part of, and it's a great way to get more eyes on the awesome things happening at your school. You want to try and tag organizations or pages that have large followings. I'm talking 30, 40, 50,000 followers. That's going to be the best because guess what? When they hit the share button, boom, your post is going to take off because all of their followers are going to be exposed to the piece of information, the picture, the celebration that you shared. So I hope this tip helps, and I hope that you'll lean in and try to use it. I know that you're going to see results just like Myra did. So now let's get started. Let's find out about this 5-day challenge and the impact that it made. I promise there's going to be takeaways that you can instantly put to work in your school or district. Let's get started. Welcome to the podcast, Myra Barrera. How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you, Andrea?
You're fired up after our 5-day Fire Up Your Facebook Page challenge, right?
So fired up. I can't wait to talk about this and to tell everybody how beneficial it was and why the next time you do this, they absolutely need to join.
Yeah, if you missed out, I mean, you missed out on a lot, and we're gonna talk about it all. But I first have to just tell Myra, I mean, watch out if you give me a good review for my podcast, you might just become a podcast guest, right?
Yes. So actually, the way you and I first met was at the TSPRA virtual vendor event, which was amazing. I think
Yes.
the platform we used was Remo. And so if you're trying to do something similar where you have breakout sessions, that's such a cool app. And that's when you and I got to talking, and I became obsessed with your podcast. I started on episode 1 and I've been working my way, till today. And I think you have about
Yeah, you're
56.
gonna be in the 60s now already. So I've been doing this every week since like the beginning of the pandemic. This was my COVID project. And now I'm addicted and I love it. And we're getting so much positive response. I don't think I'm gonna stop because there's awesome people like you to talk to. So
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's kind of how we got connected. I got obsessed with the podcast, and I needed more, and I joined the challenge. And I know there's a little something that we have in common. So if you're watching on video,
yes, we both because you won some swag. You were the winner of my little giveaway at the T-Spra. But of course we gave away these during the challenge as well. But it's
yes.
keeping my lemon water nice and hot because I don't drink coffee anymore. So we're just keeping that hot. Well, now that people have heard from you a little bit, let's find out who you are. So kind of share your background and your role as I think you're the director of communications and foundation for Beeville ISD in Texas. So just tell us a little bit about your role.
Yes, so I am the communications director for Beeville ISD, as well as working with our new education foundation. They told me that my role would be 50-50, but I say it's 100-100 because you know, everything I do, I make sure to give 100%. So, for those of you wondering where Beeville, Texas is, it's about an hour southeast of San Antonio and about an hour northwest of Corpus Christi. So, it's kind of the halfway point between Corpus and San Antonio. But for my communications aspect of my job, I am a one woman show. So anything that has to do with communications, comes through me. And as far as our district, the size of it, we have about 3,300 students spanning across to count for a second, 5 campuses. I had to count though because we're always, starting new things. And so our junior high has a magnet attached, our high school has a magnet attached. And I run primarily the district social media accounts, but our campuses have their own as well as different programs have their own accounts. And but aside from social media, any letters that are coming out on behalf of the district, and any coordination that needs to happen between us and the media, just normal communications things, that comes through me. But my path to this career is a little unique, I think, for most people that I've heard on your podcast. So I actually come from higher ed. So this is my
Okay.
first, yeah. So this is my first official K-12 gig. I, have had a lot of different jobs in higher ed. I started out as a writing consultant. I have been an English 1301, 1302 instructor. I've been an academic advisor, a coordinator, a director of programs. I've been a researcher. I've done all sorts of things. And what's interesting is that when I was an undergrad, I was an English major, and I did get certified to teach high school English. And so that's always what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in higher ed, but my path took me elsewhere, I guess. And I feel like it's all come full circle because this is absolutely where I'm supposed to be. I absolutely love K-12. I love the support that I get from other PR professionals all around the country, which we will talk about in a bit, for how, this challenge sort of, helped me with that. And I absolutely love it. I'm so happy, and I'm
S-
here.
Yeah, so how long have you been in your role with Beeville?
So that's another fun fact. I have been in my role for 6 months.
6 months only. Um,
Yes.
and I love your path that you were higher ed first and now you're coming back here and that you love it. And it is a great role and you are in a great community. So, I mean, community of school communicators, like they're the best. They're
Yes.
the most giving. Texas, obviously, I was just down in Texas at the T-Spur event in person. Then we did a virtual vendor fair a couple months later, and that's where we met, which was so awesome. Um, they do a really good job running that organization too. So you're lucky. Such a big usually the meeting is like almost 1,000 people this year. Of course, because of COVID, it was only a couple hundred. But
Oh yeah.
I met some new BFFs, and I'm definitely going back next year. So if we don't meet before next Teespur event in February or March, I'll meet you there. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds great. And shout out to my Gulf Coasters. So within Teesboro, we're broken up into regions, and I'm in the Gulf Coast region, and we have a lot of great participation there as well. They've been so helpful. So,
Yes,
hey, Gulf Coasters.
that is awesome. So, for social media, you mentioned you mainly do the district channels. So, what exactly do you run for the district?
So for social media, I do Facebook. And really, when I got on board, Facebook was our main, and I think for most schools, anyone will tell you, and I know you agree with this, that Facebook is the main mode of communication for social media. But, I really revitalized our Instagram account. When I got it, it only had 3 posts on it.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I really got our Twitter up and running. And then I created a LinkedIn for our district as well. And, selfishly, that kind of came out of me wanting our logo next to my job on LinkedIn. But, it's been great. So now everyone has been connecting to the district LinkedIn, and that's been a new way for us to advertise job postings and things like that. I share my teacher features on there as well, so that people can hear from our teachers about why they love to work here so much. And yeah, it's been great.
That's great. And maybe we'll come back on a future podcast episode and just talk a little bit about how you've used LinkedIn. If you're listening to this, I do have an article on LinkedIn, just 5 ways to use it for your school. And so I'll just put that in the show notes as well. But that's great. And I'm so glad that you've revitalized Instagram, got Twitter going, and all of that. Today we're going to kind of focus just on some of the results because the results from the 5-day Fire Up Your Facebook challenge were like off the charts. And Myra, I was so scared, kind of, it was a lot of work to put that
Mhm.
challenge together. I've wanted to do it for like 4 years. I've wanted to do a challenge like this. But truthfully, like when I developed those ideas that you guys did each day, I didn't know if they'd work, right? I mean, I kind of did because I do this every day for 7+ years. And so I know what garners attention and what's going to drive results. But it was super fun to see over 500 different schools, literally across the globe, participate in this free challenge. So, can you kind of just tell me what the challenge was like?
Yeah, sure. And so I should probably also mention as well that not only have I been in this role for 6 months, but this was a brand new role to this district. So they never had anything like this before. So I, was really going into this looking for support and looking for more ideas, not only from you and from this challenge, but from the community that I ended up getting plugged into with those 500 participants. And, so I went into this just extremely hopeful, extremely excited. And, day one, we shared our current data analytics for the prior week, and I was totally in the red. And so, if you've ever taken a look at your Facebook insights, and you can kind of see how well you've done compared to the year prior. I mean, I, wasn't wasn't doing, as good as I could have been doing. And so that was a real eye opener because I hadn't really ever looked at my data analytics before. That's not something that, I would see it posted sometimes, or I would see, the engagements or the reach and things on Facebook, but I never really thought to use that information to sort of help me in how, like, what kinds of posts I would put in the future or how I could strategically post. So that was day one. And I know you gave us some other tips as well, one of which has been completely life changing for me, um, which was inviting people to like our page. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So I am obsessed, and I'll share those results here soon. But I feel like I compulsively check our Facebook to see who hasn't liked it so that I can invite people.
Yeah.
And
Can you describe then how you do that? Because those that are listening may not know that trick. So
yes, so if you go to a Facebook post, and you need to make sure that you are operating under a a page administrator, not yourself. Sometimes I get those two mixed up, but you have to make sure you're in the role of a page administrator. You go and click on the post, and then you go to your reactions. So the likes, loves, all of that, you click there, and then it'll show you all the list of people, the people who have thumbs up, the people who have hearted. And then next to their name, it will tell you whether they like your page, whether they've been invited to like your page, or it will ask you to invite them. It'll say invite. And it's really easy to tell because the people who already like your page or have been invited, it's opaque. It's kind of, in the gray, you can't really click it. But the invite page, or the invite button rather, is in white with blue letters, and it's really easy to see. And yeah, I go now, and I see the button, and just click, 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 and
yeah, and
yeah.
you can add a lot of followers that way. And you're like, dude, you work here and you comment all the time. Why haven't you liked our page yet? But and you can
Yeah.
only invite them once. So it's not like you're going to bug people. You're not inviting
Mhm.
people on your own friends list. You're inviting
Mhm.
people that have actually interacted with your page already. And it does work on desktop and mobile. So it is something that, hey, if your significant other, or you're doing something, you're waiting in line for something, it's something you can easily do, kind of mindless work, but that can
Mhm.
help move the needle. So that's great advice. So go ahead, just tell me a little bit more about the challenge.
Yeah, so then day two, we did a staff shout out. And for me, it lined up perfectly with my Tuesday because I already do Teacher Feature Tuesday. But, I made sure to pick a teacher that I knew was really popular with students. He's a coach as well. Shout out Mr. Ortega. And wow. And he has a great social media presence as well. So when he shared it, I mean, it really spread like wildfire. And we ended up having over 4,000 person reach. And again, just to kind of quantify that with how big our district is, just a little over 3,000. And that was easily our most popular teacher feature of all time.
Yeah,
So
that's
that was
inc-
great.
that's incredible. Can you just describe a little bit of the process of how'd you get the challenges and just how that part worked?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was invited to a private Facebook group, and along with that, we would receive emails from Andrea each day. So early in the morning, I was thinking, I was like, gosh, she wakes up early. And so
No, they're
we
all
would get,
scheduled.
oh, okay.
All good.
I I need to get on that too. I don't schedule my posts, and that I know is something else I learned from you that's going to be a huge lifesaver. But we would receive those emails really early in the morning, and it was just a really short, maybe 2 to 3 minute video, just explaining what the challenge was for that day, and really step by step instructions on how to do it. I mean, there was really no question as to what to do. And so then you would go into the private Facebook group, and you would post it as an announcement. So this is today's challenge, post here, and you would post in the comments. And then each day, Andrea would have I think it was only supposed to be 30 minutes, but it always went over that.
I have a
We're
lot of words, and sometimes we had questions, so it was kinda crazy,
Well,
but if
no, and it wasn't you. I think people were just, everyone was talking and asking questions. And so Andrew would do a Facebook Live every day just to answer anybody's questions or concerns about the day's challenge. And she did that around noon, 1 p.m., depending on your time zone, of course. And so it was really great that if you had a question, she could answer it. And then later on in the day, you could still participate in the challenge.
yeah.
So that was really great. And, meanwhile, we're all interacting with each other, in the comments because everyone's posting. You get to see everybody else's posts. I was screenshotting so many good ideas that I ended up figuring out. I got so many friend requests from people who participated in the challenge of just,
Oh, that's
making those connections with other PR professionals. So
yeah.
it was so great.
That is great, and so you picked a popular, staff member and posted and got a lot of comments, um,
Mhm.
you and then each day kinda had a different theme, and so you guys any other one particular day that was a big takeaway for you?
So for me, days 3 and 4 were actually the most successful for me and game changers. And I'll explain why. So for day 3, you had us tag um, any other page that had at least 40,000 followers. Well, I'm in a rural area. And so it's kind of, unless you're talking about tagging the news, it was kind of hard to find a group of 40,000. So I kind of made up my own rules. Sorry.
I love that.
Yeah, and so I ended up tagging multiple organizations to equal that 40,000. So I tagged the National Association of Elementary School Principals, which has a 15,000 person following. I tagged the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. They have a 24,000 people following. And then I posted Todd Nesloni, who is a public speaker, and he had a 12,000 person following. And I said this in the comments in the group, but I gave full credit to our principal at our early childhood center, Miss Annette Sanchez. And these are actually, professional orgs that she's plugged into, and she's a past president. So when I asked her for ideas, she said, "Oh, yeah, tag these people. I will text them. I will tell them to share." And it was so easy. And so my biggest takeaway from that particular challenge was that we're all part of professional organizations across our district in our different roles: principals, superintendents, teachers, the finance people. Everyone is, we're in the, TSPRA, NSPRA. And so if you just reach out to people and ask them, what orgs are you in? Like, who can I tag? It's so easy just to do that. And if they're really plugged in and they can just reach out to the orgs that way, it was so easy for them to share. And our reach for that post was huge. I mean, so many more people saw that post than they would have otherwise if I hadn't have tagged them. So,
Right. I love that because that anybody can use that. And we'll link to your examples from the challenge in the show notes so everybody can kind of take a look at what Myra did. And again, I love it because you get inspired or you get challenged by me in this case, or you get inspired from another school's post, but then you can make it your own, right? And take some elements. And I think the big thing that we learned that was really evident was shares is are way more powerful than the amount of comments you get because
yeah.
I post from Tuesday, which was a retiree post that somebody had worked there for 20 plus years, had a ton of comments, 50 comments, but I just got a few targeted shares from a page that had over 40,000 followers, and that post reached over 11,000 people versus, the one with 50 comments got like 2,000. So you guys, the shares and the quality of shares really makes a difference. Any other
Yes.
big takeaways for you?
Yeah. So then day 4, and this is the one that was so unexpectedly successful. So we did Throwback Thursday. That was your challenge for us. And you challenged us to post anything that everyone in the district would remember. And so coincidentally, I had received a text that day from our director of transportation letting us know that it was his father's 82nd birthday. And his father is a bus driver for the district. And so I thought, wow, this is really great. So not only do we have the familial ties across the district, but I bet we could do something really cool here. And so I, asked him, do you have any old pictures of your father that maybe I could share? And so he sent me a picture of his father from when he was 10 years old playing the accordion. And that opened up this entire conversation about how his father started his own band, how he still participates in that band, 60 something years later. Yeah, I know. And so what was supposed to be, an event or something that everybody knew turned into a person everybody knew, which was Mr. D, the bus driver. And we talked about that little bit of history from when he started his band until now, talked about the relationship between him and his son working together for the district. And wow, that post ended up reaching over 8,000 people. And on
Wow.
top of that, Andrea, let me tell you, and this is the part that just completely changed the game for me, was that I was contacted by our local newspaper. And I know I'm probably not the only person who's experienced this as a school PR professional, but sometimes, when the school is the primary, storyteller, the primary writer of the narrative, there can be a little bit of tension with outside, media sources wanting to, get the scoop or what have you. And so based on that post, our local paper actually reached out to me asking if they could do a feature story based on that post. So it opened up this, line of communication between myself and the local paper that didn't exist before. And I just, wow, wow.
That's awesome. I definitely did not think that was gonna happen when I came up with that challenge. So that is such a cool story. Thank you for sharing that. And you just never know when some of those small nuggets then would turn into a video project or something that can go either local media or sometimes national media, right? And not that the stories we tell, I don't think were ever meant to like want to go viral. Like any of the challenge stuff that I did in this challenge wasn't to go viral, but it was to make a bigger impact and to engage your community, rally around the school, get people re-engaged because we've been in the last year, the 14 months. I mean, it has been really hard, but there's still so many good things to celebrate. And so that was really fun to see.
So much fun.
Yeah, good story. So let's hear some of the results. Let's get to some of your results. I know you got some data to share with us because then after the kind of 5 days, I forced everybody to go back in and look at their metrics again and see, okay, what was the impact? So can you share that?
Y'all, I went, that's what I have to say, y'all. I went from being in the red completely to completely being in the green. And you're not going to believe this. I wouldn't have believed it unless I had seen it for myself. For our page likes, we were up 675% in this 1 week. And we got 62 page likes and 57 new followers, which was up by 714%. And again, this is 1 week where, most of the time I feel like I get one or two new likes or follows that trickle in a week. But I mean, that, I just couldn't believe that.
That's amazing. And I just want to clarify. So what we looked at was we looked at a 7-day window and it was comparing to the previous 7 days. So when we say it was up 675%, it's not like we were at 2,000 followers and we went up to 20,000 followers or whatever, 600. It was that the last week she may have added those 2 or 3 people. Now she added 62 people. So that's what that percentage difference is. But that's a huge number. I don't know. Usually when people initially find out about that inviting, they move up really big like that. It's a great thing to keep going, and obviously you're addicted now. So that's awesome. So what about your engagement or your post
Oh,
reach? What were those numbers like?
our post reach went up by 80%, and we ended up reaching 16,000 people in that 1 week. And again, just to put that in perspective, the size of Beeville, the city, is about 15,000 people. So to have reached more people than are even in our city is just
And you didn't pay for that. We didn't boost anything. We didn't try to pay Facebook to show it to more
no, not
people.
at all. No, this was all
Yeah.
from the challenge and the kinds of posts that you crafted and the advice that you gave. And wow.
That's awesome. Well, you did the work. I gave a little guidance. You did the work. So good job. Anything else that you wanted to share for your
Our
results?
post engagement was also up by 54%, which ended up coming out to 6,600 people were engaging with our posts. And I know there was a question in one of the Facebook lives as to what exactly post engagement is. And I think you said it was a combination of clicks and shares.
And
Mhm.
likes and loves and comments and shares. It's people actually taking action on the post versus just scrolling right by,
Mhm.
right? Maybe they saw but they didn't engage in it. And that is the key, you guys. I mean, we say on social media, content is king, but engagement is queen. Because if you're putting out good content, but they're not engaging, then Facebook's not going to show that post to as many people, like with the algorithm and stuff. So that's the real key, and that's why it was the fire up your Facebook challenge, like firing it up in a good way with engagement and likes and I'd say that mission accomplished, right?
Oh, absolutely. I just, with the challenges that you gave us mixed in with this new community of people that I've met, and now I follow their pages, and I'm learning so many different types of posts that I would have never thought of before. And I'm also an avid follower of your Facebook, your company's Facebook page, and you're always highlighting what different schools are doing, and I'm just blown away. I keep saying that, but I really am by how much I learned, you know, how much of a market improvement that we made. And you bet that I am going to be typing up a report and including all of this data for our school board. Our next meeting is on May 20th, and I want them to know that in the past 6 months, this is what this role has accomplished. So not, again, like it's not
Right.
about me, it's the whole community and everyone who contributes to social media, but I want them to know that it matters. And social media engagement can improve enrollment, it can improve parental involvement. There's just the possibilities are endless with social media.
Yeah, it can improve your recruitment of
Yeah.
staff, right? Of getting better staff. And you guys have a hard job in school communications, but some people don't understand the impact that social media can make. And that is the big reason why I wanted to dive into some of those insights, which you could go down a rabbit hole, Myra, and you could spend all day, well, all week, like diving into all the analytics that Facebook gives you. But you just go to the overview tab. That will give you a lot. And also, you learned how to compare yourself to other districts maybe around you. Did you do that at all?
So it's funny you should ask that. When I went to go do that, I mean, other districts aren't even in the same solar system as we are. It's just there is no comparison. So when I kind of realized that there wasn't really that big of a need to compare us to other districts, I decided, and this was on your advice, to go ahead and add all of the different Facebook pages that we have across the district. So the campus pages,
Okay.
the fine arts, the career and technical education, the athletics, all of those, so that I can keep an eye when a post, is really engaging, and then I can share that information on the district page. So yeah, I think for other schools, I'm sure it's going to be really beneficial to compare their district to the neighboring districts to see how they're doing, but for us it really, I mean, there was no comparison.
So you were way ahead of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, let's go. This is competitive, right? And in my case, like I'm super small school, so we've got some districts around us that are a lot bigger. I'm talking 10. It doesn't take much to be 10 times bigger than our little school of 300 students. But a lot of times we still compete in that engagement level and almost in the likes and things like that. So it's really fun. Yeah, I'm just so glad that you participated. We are running up against the end of our time, but if you could have one kind of social media tip for those listening, besides just do what Andrea says, because that was one of the takeaways. Remember that somebody's just like, I'm just going to do whatever Andrea says,
Uh,
which is good advice. But one of your best social media tips for those listening.
yeah, so I think my and I have two actually, and I kind of already mentioned them,
Yes.
but the first one is just tapping into those professional orgs that everybody is a part of. I think that's so huge, and being able to tag those organizations. And like you said, a like is not equal to a share. And the more shares you can get and buy big professional organizations like that, it's going to make a huge difference. And then my second one would be, the storytelling aspect, which, like I said, the father and son, bus driver and transportation director, just by having a little 10-minute conversation with the director of transportation, I ended up finding out about this rich history, not only within their family, but their capacities within the district and within the city. And it just, it created this community between the district and all of the citizens of Beeville. And it was just so impactful.
It takes a little time, but like you said, it's a 10-minute conversation. So if you can really craft your strategy when you're thinking about social media to what do I got to post? Oh my gosh, give me a photo, whatever, to actually talking to people. And in that case, you were trying to feature, some type of staff member. But think about that because those are important stories that you can tell every week, right? Just having that conversation created that whole opportunity to dive into that. And everybody has a story, right?
Yes. And people want to
Um,
read about it.
just they do. People love stories. So, so insightful, Myra. And we will have you back again to talk more than just the challenge. But I'm so proud of you. And we're going to get these links out so people can kind of take a look. What's the best way for listeners to stay connected to you?
So, as I mentioned, the district Beeville underscore ISD is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. As of the recording of this podcast episode, I do not have a personal Twitter account. I know, can you
Myra,
believe it? So as soon as soon as we hang up, I'm gonna go make one. And so you can include that in the show notes and people can get connected to
yes.
me, and I want to meet you. I want to pick your brain and I want to know more.
Yes, that's a great and Twitter, Myra, is such a powerful tool. It's how I met most of the people that I get connected with, that I'm still connected with today, that I get so many ideas from. So we will link her new handle, whatever it is. It will be waiting for you in the show notes. So thank you so much for spending time with us. Good job with the challenge, you and so many others. It's because you put the work in and you put the focus on that you got the results that you did. Anybody listening, if you're looking to do this, we'll have another challenge in the future, But I support hundreds of schools across the country through my membership program. I'm inviting you in. We got a spot for you. It's a Facebook group, kind of like what Myra was talking about, but it's a year-round one that we support you. And so if you think, gosh, I could really use that, just check it out. That's waiting for you also on the show notes page. So thanks so much, Myra. Enjoy the rest of the school year, and hopefully I will see you soon.
Thanks, Andrea, for having me on and for making my podcast dreams come true.
It is a podcast dream come true. She's an avid listener to podcasts and obviously has been binge listening here. So I appreciate you, Myra, and we'll see everybody else next week. Bye bye.